we discussed in the last session? Any one of you unmute and talk?
Keyword arguments, variable length arguments.
Keyword arguments, variable length arguments. Next. The next one is what?
Positional arguments.
Positional arguments. Next. We discussed about the arguments, right? One is like formal and another one is like an actual.
Actual.
The next one is like positional arguments. Next, keyword arguments. Next, default arguments.
Default argument.
The next one is
Variable.
like variable length. The next one is like keyword variable length
Keyword variable
arguments or
length.
not. Okay. So these five arguments, five types of arguments we discussed or not. The next one is like we discussed about lambda functions, right? What is another name for the lambda functions in Python? Another name, lambda functions. We can say like what? Anonymous functions also or not? Anonymous functions also or not? Yes or no? Which functions we can say like an anonymous functions? Which functions we can say like an anonymous functions? Which functions we can say like an anonymous functions? Tell me, which functions we can say like an anonymous functions? What is named function and what is anonymous function? A function which is not having a name, those functions we can say like a anonymous functions or not. The function which is having name, those functions we can say like a named functions or not. Yes or no? So how to create a lambda function? So let me go to the new notebook. Let me go to the new notebooks, select untitled, can I say like lambda functions? Okay. So far you know how to create a normal named function. So like this we can create or not. Into yes, it is like valid or invalid. It is like valid syntax or invalid syntax in general. It is like 100% valid syntax or not. Here you have the name to this particular function or not. If you have the name, you can call that function. Okay. Not only you, if anybody want to call this particular function, you can call it, no problem at all. Anyone can call if they know the name of this particular function or not. If you call, you can get this particular service. Okay, that means whatever the functionality you written, that functionality is going to execute or not. It's like a normal function, everyone knows. But I want to go with the lambda function. Okay, lambda function means it's like an anonymous function, the function which is not having the name. Tell me how we can create a lambda function syntactically, how it is looks like lambda functions. Syntactically, normal functions, how it is looks like already we discussed. We have one keyword is there, def, after that function name, after that function representation. After that, here you can write some statements. How many statements you can write? This is called as a function block. Okay, in this particular function body or block or body, how many statements you can write? Any number of statements you can write it, no problem at all if it is like a named. Now the syntax for the lambda functions, how it looks like, we'll see. So if you want to create a lambda function, if you want to create a lambda function, so we have one keyword is there, lambda is the keyword. We have one keyword is there. What is the keyword? Lambda is the keyword. Okay, now once you have this lambda keyword, you can understand like once you specify this keyword for that particular function, you can understand like this is like an anonymous function. After that, the function, okay, here def, here lambda, done. Here the function name is there. Do we need name here? Do we need name here or not required? Name is required or not required? Name is required or not required? Not required, right? Why? Because lambda functions are like anonymous functions. Anonymous functions means no name. Okay, there has no name, nothing. So that here no name, nothing is required. After that, what we have? Okay, function representation. Okay, I'm going to write, okay, compare this one and this one, syntactically valid or invalid, we'll see. Okay, after that, print anonymous. Print anonymous. Okay, now I written like this. Is it like valid syntax or invalid syntax? Is it like valid syntax or invalid syntax? It gives me like invalid syntax in this particular place. Okay, now just okay, no space, nothing. Okay, why? Because indentation is important in Python, right? Okay, you can check like this also. We'll see. See, still it is like showing like what? Still it is showing like what? Syntax error or not? Still it is showing like a syntax error. Okay, I thought like this is not required. So can I put something like this? Can I put something like this? Say this. Now it is like valid or invalid. Now it is like valid or invalid. Come on. It is like valid or invalid. Now see, there is no syntax error means it's like valid only, right? Now see the difference. Fn, if you observe, if I click on this one, my function, here also function, here main, here also main, and then here it is like a lambda function, here it is like what? Named function or not? Yes or no? Named function or not? See the syntax now. In lambda functions, this particular function representation is required or not required. Syntactically, it's valid or invalid. I tried multiple ways. Say, if I write like this, it gives me a syntax error. If I try giving some space, again gives me syntax error. I thought like, okay, without space not accepting, with space also not accepting. I thought like, okay, just remove this one. Then what happens? See, then what happens? It is like valid syntax or not? Yes or no? So in Python, if you want to create a anonymous function, the syntax is, what is my syntax? Come on, in Python, if you want to create an anonymous function, what is the syntax? The syntax is this one or not? Can you see this syntax? Okay, you can compare both. Here def, here is what? Named functions def. Here is what? The keyword lambda. Named function name is required. Anonymous function name is not required. So that remove it. The representation is required or not required? Okay, syntactically the representation is not required. Syntactically invalid. After that, here I written like a print anonymous. Okay, this is like 100% valid syntax or not? Agreed up to here? Come on. Up here, okay? One step by step. Okay, this particular function and this particular function. Compare and tell me, are you okay with this syntax or not? First syntax, after that, how to use that functionality, we'll see. Okay. Okay, then next, possibility there or not there? Possibility there or not there? Can I write like this? Can I write like this? Possibility there or not there? A function with some parameters. Yes, 100% possibility is there. The function with some parameters or not? Yes. Now if you come to this lambda function, tell me how we can write it. To this particular one, okay, this is the equivalent lambda function. To this particular one, the equivalent lambda function I want. Tell me how we can. First, def here, def here. Come on, here what? Def here what? What is the keyword? Hmm? Lambda. Lambda. The next one is what? Come on. The next one. Hmm? Come on. Parameters, right? Parameters, right? Function name, next one. Function name you required or not required? Just compare. Don't think more. Function name is required or not required in anonymous functions? No, right? Anonymous function means no name. Okay, so name is not required. After that, representation like this required or not required? Representation like this required or not required? Come Come on.
Not required.
Not required, right? Okay, it is syntax error. Say this syntax error. Okay, here where it is, here in this place or not. So if I remove this one, it is like valid or invalid? Valid. But you missed something, right? What you missed? What you missed? The function should take two parameters or not, two arguments or not. So here I want to place that arguments. Argument names are what? A, B or not. So think general way. Okay, how many, how I can, how you want me to write? Can I write like A comma B? Is it valid or invalid? Again, syntax error. Can I give some space here? Can I run it? It is like what? Valid syntax or not? See the compare. Def lambda. Function name. Here function name is not required. Function representation. This one not required because syntactically invalid. This is not required. But how many parameters you have? Two parameters. So those two parameters I added. After that, whatever the statement, I written that statement or not. Agree with me, all? But one thing missed. Can anyone observe? And this one and this one. What is that? Come on. A comma B. If I write like this, A plus B, is it valid syntax or invalid syntax? See this. If it is like lambda function, don't follow the indentation. Don't follow the indentation. This particular statement you have to write, okay, besides your colon. Then only it is valid. See, whenever you get the syntax error, there has no reasons for that. You have to follow the guideline. If it is like something wrong in the logic, you can get the runtime error. We can check the logic, why this logic is like throws an error, or what changes are required. Anytime you get the syntax error means there is no reasons, nothing. You have to follow the guidelines. Why? Because syntax error means who introduced that language, those people provided some set of guidelines and rules. You are the person while using that technology, you have to follow that guidelines. You should not break that guidelines or not. So whenever you get the syntax error, okay, now see this. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. I followed the indentation. Now if I run this one, see here, you can get the syntax error or not. Syntax error you are getting means you are not following the guidelines of what? Your lambda functions or not. What is my guideline to the lambda function? Whenever you create a lambda function, okay, lambda and parameters, if you have, you can write the parameters without, okay, this brace, and then colon, and then no need to follow the indentation. You can write the print A plus B or whatever the statement you can write it. Now it is 100% syntactically valid. Agreed? Come on, syntactically valid or not? Shall we go with the next one? See this. Df fn a comma b. Okay. Here print a. Okay. Print a and print b. This is valid or invalid? Syntactically. This is valid or invalid? Come on. This is valid or invalid?
Valid.
100% valid. Okay. I have a function which contains any number of statements or not. Now I want to write an equivalent lambda function, okay, anonymous function for this particular statements. Can anyone tell me, okay, how we can? Lambda,
A comma
lambda, okay, a comma b. Yes or no? Function name is not required. Representation also not required. Parameters directly can write it. Next,
colon.
Colon. You want me to follow the indentation or besides you want me to write?
Beside.
Beside only, right? Print A and then print B. Okay. Can I run this? What happened? Can I run this? What happened? So this again. Print A, print B. Syntax error. Syntax error means there is no other thought. You did not follow the guideline. Okay, what guideline you not followed? Okay, maybe, okay, if I remove this one, okay, one statement is there. Yes, syntactically valid. So if I add one more statement, okay, now it is gives me syntax error. I thought like, okay, without space I given, so that with space I provided, still syntax error. What do you think about this one? Maybe semicolon sometimes, okay, to differentiate the statements, okay, some error again, some error. If I write like this is one statement and this is one statement, so that b is not defined error I am getting. So that is also not work out. Now if I comma, if I use, then the time again something like this. So by seeing this one, can you conclude one statement about the lambda function body, about the lambda function body? I tried multiple ways, but okay, every time I'm getting the error. Every time I'm getting the error. Okay, so can you conclude one statement? My question is very simple, straight question. In the lambda function, can I write more than one statement? In the lambda function, can I write more than one statement? Tell me.
Uh,
No, right? No, right? If I write more than one statement, observe what happened. If I write more than one statement, observe what happened. Okay, it gives me syntax error, it gives me something else. Okay, now I given like space. Okay, no syntax error. If I write like this, syntax error. I thought like, okay, with a semicolon. Then what happened? This one is like one statement. This one is like one statement. What about this one? This one is like one statement. What about this one? What about this one? What about this one? This is another statement or not? Okay, now if I run this one, then what happens? See, this statement is like 100% valid. Okay, why? Because lambda, no name, no representation, arguments, and print. One statement only there. That too, that is besides the column. So that it is 100% valid. After that, one more statement is there, print B or not. This statement, if you observe, B is defined or not defined? B is defined or not defined? Not defined. That the reason name B is not defined error you can get it. Whenever you use like a semicolon, it treated like up to here is one statement and this one is like one statement or not. Yes or no? Up to here it is like one statement and this one is like one statement or not. Agreed? All are okay? Come on. So for good.
Sir.
Okay, so that it gives me B is not defined. I thought like, okay, semicolon, not comma, for example. Okay, just I'm thinking like that. Now, can I run this one? If I write comma also, up to here it is treated like what? One statement, and this one is like what? One more statement. If it is like one more statement, B is there or not there? B is there or not there? B is not there. That's the reason what is the error? Name B is not defined. Why it's not syntax error? Why? Because it is 100% syntactically valid. This is also 100% syntactically valid or not. So there is no syntax error. Okay, it gives me name B is not defined. Agreed? Yes or no? Okay, so that conclude one statement now. Can I write more than one statement in lambda functions? Can I write more than one statement in lambda functions? Can I write more than one statement in lambda functions? Syntactically, is it valid? Tell me. Can I write more than one statement in lambda functions? Is it syntactically valid? No,
Only
right?
value we had
No,
to
right? It is not syntactically valid. Okay, how many arguments you can write in the lambda functions? How many arguments we can write in the lambda functions? Arguments list, how many? Do we have any restrictions for arguments list? No, right? Okay. This is like with arguments. Okay, you can write 1, 2, 3 for any number, and this one is like what, without argument or not. If there is no arguments, nothing is required after lambda, immediately you can add the column, immediately you can write the statement or not. Agreed? So for good. Okay, okay then. Now up here, okay, the next one, can anyone tell me another function, how it looks like? Function with the return type or not? Function with the return type or not? Before move to that one, I want to execute. Okay, I want to execute this particular functions. Now tell me, if you want to execute this particular function, how we can execute? Directly you can call like this. If you want to execute this particular function, how we can execute? That is the question. If you want to execute this particular function, how we can execute? That is the question. So my question is, how many ways we can execute this particular anonymous function? That is the question. How many ways we can call an anonymous functions? How many ways we can call an anonymous functions? Anyone? How many ways we can call an anonymous function? Okay, leave it. How many ways you can call a named function? Tell me. How many ways you can call named function? Different ways, tell me. Okay, na? This is my function. Different ways, tell me. One is like you can call using name. Call using name. Call using name. Yes. One is like call using name. The next one. Anyone? Come on. Simple. One is like call using name. Another one.
Call return.
Second. Can I do one thing? Can I assign this particular function to another variable like this? Okay. Now, can I call x? Can I call x? Can I assign this one to particular variable? Can I call x? Working or not? I assign this particular function to one variable. See this. I assign this particular function to one variable. I called that particular variable or not. It is called as a alias name. Alias name is nothing but with another name we are going to call it. Now see here. Normal actual function is what? Fn. You called by using that name. But here you assign a fn function to which variable? X. Now if I call x, means internally you are calling what? Fn only or not. See, my output is like what? Fn only or not. So by assigning your function to one variable, okay, we can call that function or not. You assign this function to another variable, you can call it. It's called as a alias. Okay, just you can alias name to that particular function. Yes or no? Alias name to this particular function. Yes or no? Alias name to that particular function. Okay, this is one way. Another way, tell me. Anyone? Another way. Another way. How we can call it? How we can call it? Anyone?
Assign return and call return value.
Assign. Can you
Return,
repeat again? Return here. Return concept is not there, na? You can pass this particular function as an argument to another function or not. See, I'm going to write df Okay, I have one function is there. Okay, my fn. This is my function. Okay, na? So here, can anyone tell me about this particular function? Can anyone talk about this function? What is my fn? Type is what? My fn type is what? Come on, fast. My
Function.
fn function, which take how many parameters or arguments? Let's take how many arguments? One argument. What is the type of that argument?
Function.
Function, right? Function, right? So this is your actual, okay, my fn or not. So if I call my fn like this, exact output tell me. If I call my fn like this, come on, error message.
Parameter.
Yeah, expecting one positional parameter, right? Okay, so missing one positional parameter or not, required positional argument, that's okay. Now if I write like this, if I write like this, what is the error? If I write like this, what is the error?
Is not
uh,
callable.
int object is not callable or not, int object is not callable. So what you can understand, this particular one, other than function, okay, why? Because they are using like a function. If you pass other than function any value, you can get this like a error message or not callable, yes or no? So my function, while calling, you should have to pass what? You should have to pass what? Which value you want me to pass? You should have to pass which value? You should have to pass which value? Number, string, boolean, list, set, tuple. Which value you want me to pass? While calling MIFN, which value you should have to pass? Function, right? You have to pass the function. Why? Because see, MyFN one parameter it is taking or one argument it is taking. That argument type is what? The argument, how you are using? You are using that particular argument as like a function, right? You are using that particular argument as like a function or not? Yes or no? Okay, so that my fn, you have to pass one parameter. That parameter type should be what? That parameter type should be what? Come on, that parameter type should be what? That parameter type should be function. So that can I do one thing? If you have a function, can you pass it? I already have one function, fn. Can I pass this one? Yes or no? Now, if I execute this, there is no error, nothing. My fn executed, my fn printed means this fn called or not. So first one, this is my function. How many ways you are calling? With the name directly you called or not. So you can get the output fn. By aliasing, you can assign the function to another variable and you can call using that variable name or not. You can call using that variable or not. Yes or no? This is like a through aliasing, you can call it. Through aliasing also, you can call it. That is one thing. The next one, you can pass a function as a argument to another function. That function is going to call back or not. So this is also one more way you can call the function and get the output is like what? Fn or not? Grade everyone. Tell me. All are okay.
Yes.
Okay, these are the three ways we can call one normal function or not. Okay, normal function means named function. So the same question I want to ask you like, hey, I have a lambda function or I have an anonymous function. If you have an anonymous function, how many ways you can call it? That is the question, simple question. Come on. Any answers? If you have an anonymous function, how many ways you can call it? So instead of code, if you want to write raw, okay, you can write some statement like this. It's like a raw text. It is not a code. It is like a raw text. Okay, this is like a raw text. Now you can go with the next one. Now this is like a code, you can write it. How many ways we can call each function? Lambda or anonymous functions or not? How many ways we can call lambda or anonymous functions? Tell me how we can. First, can I write the lambda function? Lambda, no statements, okay, no arguments, nothing is there. My statement is like print, okay, one statement is like fn. Syntactically valid or invalid? Yes, 100% valid. Okay, now this is the function, right? If it is a function, can I call like this? Is it like valid or invalid? It is like valid or invalid. Okay, syntactically it is valid, but the thing is, you are not calling. If you call this one, you have to get this particular fn as output or not. Are you able to get that output? Are you able to get that output? Okay, now this 52, just I did slide change. Then I get this fn. Okay, now syntactically valid. Why? Because there is no syntax errors. At the same time, my output also expected output only. Your expected output is what? Fn. So that my fn only it is printed here or not. So that this is one way of calling what? This is one way of calling what? Come on. This is one way of calling what? 1 second. Yeah, I'm back. See, this is one way of calling my lambda function or not. It is called as, see, this is my lambda function. Na? Immediately I'm calling or not. See this. Immediately I'm calling or not. So this one I already told to you. Wherever you see this particular syntax, wherever you see any programming language, wherever you see this particular syntax, what you can understand by seeing this syntax? Two sections you have, A and calling. So you call what? You call what? A. So A should be what? You are calling means that caller should be what? You are calling means you are calling A. So A should be what? You are calling A. So A should be what? Function or not? A should be a function. So here also, which function? It is like a, I said like function. I'm not specifying like it is like a anonymous function. It is like a named function. I didn't specify. A is a function. That's it. That can be anonymous. That can be named or not. Same stuff. Okay, here also. See, this is my lambda function. Yes or no? See this syntactically it is valid or invalid, just you can check it. Yes, this is my lambda function. Okay, so why I use these braces means just I want to specify, okay, I want to use this entire stuff in another place. Okay, that's the reason I want to close it. If you not close this one, then what happened? Very simple. How many sections are there? Lambda is one section, colon is one section, print is one section. Okay, three sections are there. I want to keep everything in a single. Okay, I want to represent with a single statement. Now what happened? This brace contains what? One lambda function or not. So It is like a function. If you have a function, what you can do? Can I call it? Possibility there or not there? Wherever you see this particular brace, calling brace, okay, if I call something, the previous value, the prefix should be what? A function. Now tell me, this prefix is what? A function or not? This prefix is a function. Which function that is? A lambda function or anonymous function or not? Yes or no? Come on. So that if I execute this one, it is executed and fn printed or not. So this particular, okay, call is called as, okay, this particular invoking called as, okay, self-invoking or immediate invoking. Self-invoking or immediate invoking. Immediate invoking or not. Okay, why I said like self-invoking? Okay, here it is called this function only called, so that you created a function, you called that function only, so that you can say like a self-invoking. The next one is like immediate invoking, why I said you defined a function, immediately you called or not. It's called as what? Immediate invoking or not. Yes or no? So instead of self-invoking, you can say like a immediate invoking, that best suitable word for this. You created a function, immediately you call that function or not. It is nothing but what? Immediate invoking or not. Agreed, everyone? Come on. Agreed or not? Yes or no? So you can ask a question. Hey, immediate invoking is okay. Okay, for the anonymous function. Is it okay? Is it possible? Okay, invoke our named functions immediate invoking. Named function with immediate invoking. Can we try that one also? Named function, can I write it? How we can write? Def fn. Okay, print fn. Done. This is my function or not? Immediately I want to invoking. So how we can? Okay, this entire stuff I want to take like this. Okay, now can I call it? Can I call it? Now what happened? Now what happened? Tell me. Now what happened? Syntax error came. Okay, I removed that one. Now this not an error. At the same time, I didn't get the output. There is no use. So that immediate invoke is possible or not possible for this particular named functions. Immediate invoking is possible or not possible for the named functions? Tell me. Not possible, right? Not possible, right? Okay, so immediate invoking is possible for which statements? Okay, lambda functions only or not? Agreed, everyone? This is one way of calling. Another way, tell me. This is one way of calling. Another way, tell me. Anyone? This is one way of calling. Another way.
Assign a variable.
Yes. Assign this particular lambda function to one variable is nothing but aliasing or not. So can I create a way? Okay, lambda function. How we can? Lambda print fn. This is my function. Can I assign this one to a? It is called as what? Aliasing or not. Now my a is which type? My a is which type? A holds what? A holds what? My a holds what? Okay, if I write like this, what my a holds? What my a value? What is my a value? Come on, what is my a value? 10, right? 10, right? You assigned 10, so that my a value is like a 10. What is the type of my a? What is the type of my a? Integer or not? Integer or not? Same stuff. You assigned 10, so that my a value is like 10. You assigned what? What you assigned? You assigned a lambda function, right? A function you assigned. So my a is what? My a is what? You assigned 10, no? A is 10, you said. You assigned a function, so my a is what? A function, right? If you have a function, in your hand one function is there, what you can do? You have a function, what you can do? You can call it, right? You can call it or not. Okay, now if I call, you can get the output is like what? Fn or not? Yes or no? It is called as what? First one is like immediate invoking. Through immediate invoking, you can. Another one is like through aliasing or no. Through aliasing also or not. Okay, next one. Come on, next one. Anyone? Next one. Pass as a same as a argument. Pass as a argument. So can I pass this one as an argument? So how we can pass this one as an argument? So very simple. F, okay, F2 or my function. Okay. Now can anyone talk something about the my function? Everyone knows my function. Okay, it is like a function type which take one parameter. That parameter type also what? That parameter type also what? Function only or not. How we can say in Python there is no type for the variables, but still you said like function. How we can say based on the usage or not? How we are using a? You are using a as a calling. You are using a as a calling or not? So you are calling what? You are calling a function. So my a is a function or not? Yes or no? So my a is a function. Agreed with me? Tell me. Agreed with me all or? You're okay or not? Okay.
Yes,
Now
sir.
tell me. Now tell me. I want to call the function by passing how many parameters? One parameter. What is the type of that parameter?
Function.
Function. So which function?
Anon-
Okay. Named function, anonymous function. Any na? Named function or anonymous function or any? Come on, any, right? Okay, I didn't mention any time. Okay, the parameter is like a function. I didn't mention any time the parameter should be a named function only, should be an anonymous function only. Am I mentioned any time? No, right? So my function, okay, it is like what? Take one parameter. The parameter type is like what? A function. That's it. That function can be named or can be anonymous. Now this time I want to use anonymous function. So can I use anonymous function? How we can pass the anonymous function? Tell me. Lambda. Lambda. If you have a parameters, you can use the parameters. For now, I don't have any parameter. Print fn. It is valid syntax or invalid syntax. Up to here, this statement is what? This statement is what?
anon-
The highlighted statement is what? One function, anonymous function. One function you can say. My fn expecting what? One function as an argument. You also passed what? An argument or not. Now if you come here, my fn printed or not. So this is like one more way or yes or no. So if you have a lambda function, how many ways we can call it? One is like through immediate invoking. Through immediate invoking. Another one is like aliasing. You can assign that particular function to one more variable. Okay, through aliasing. The next one is like you can pass that particular function as a parameter and you can call that function or not. Okay, whenever you pass this particular lambda function as a parameter and this particular lambda function assigned to a, internally this is also aliasing only. You assign the lambda to a, my a you are calling or not, but you pass as a argument. Yes or no? Agreed with me all or? So for good.
Yes, sir.
These are the ways. The next one. Now, so far we discussed about arguments. Okay, lambda function has an argument without argument. Another one is what? Return value also, na? Return value also, na? So that, okay, let's go. df, I have fn, okay, return 10. Valid or invalid statement? Valid or invalid?
valid.
100% valid. Okay, so can I write like val equals to fn? What is my val? What is my val?
10.
10, right? Okay, I don't think more. 10. Function calling always returns me, always gives me the return value. Function calling always gives me the return value. The return value is like what? 10. Assign that 10 to val. Val is like what? 10 or not. Now to this particular function, I want to create a lambda function. Tell me how we can. How we can? Lambda. Lambda. Function name is required. No. Function representation is required. No. Parameters there. As per your requirement, parameters there or not there? Not there. So that lambda colon. What is my statement? Return 10. So can I write like this? Can I write like this? I written. But what is the error? What is the error? Come on, what is the error?
Syntax error.
It is a syntax error, right? It is a syntax error or not? It is a syntax error or not? Okay, if it is like a syntax error, again, you know, right? Again, you know, right?
Multiple statements.
Okay. So what you have to do? You have to change something. Syntax error means you have to follow the guidelines. What guidelines you have to follow? What guidelines you have to follow? Okay, just I removed the return first. Now, syntactically valid or invalid? Syntactically valid or invalid?
Valid.
100% valid. Okay, now if I call this lambda function, okay, the function call should gives me the return value or not. So can I call this lambda function? Everyone knows, right? How many ways we can call it? One is like aliasing, another one is like immediate invoking, the next one is like pass as a parameter. Now if I call, which function you are calling? Which function you are calling? Lambda function you are calling or not? Function call always gives me which value? Function call always gives me which value? Function call. See, this is my lambda function. You are calling. Function call always gives me which value? A return value or not? Now, if you come here, is it really gives me the return value or not? Yes, it gives me the return value or not. For example, okay, now this is the one. Now, if I call this one, what is my val? This is the one. Okay, here what happened? Lambda 100 na 1000, right? Now here, can I call this one? What is my val? 1000 or not? If I write like this, okay, if I execute this one, what is my val? 2000 or not? Now you can conclude one statement. Very simple. In the lambda function or anonymous function, how many statements you can write in the function body? First question. Maximum, how many statements you can write? In the anonymous function or lambda function, how many statements you can write in the body? How many statements you can write in the body? Maximum, only one statement. That particular statement is acting like what? That particular statement by default acting like a return statement only. That means return value only. This one statement is there na? It is by default acting like what? Return value or not? Agreed? By default it is acting like what? Return value or not. So what is the return value of this function? 1000. Okay, what is the return value of this function? 2000. While calling a function, okay, the caller returns me what? Return value. So that return value assigned to whom? Val. So finally my val is like what? 2000 or not? Yes or no? Agreed, everyone? So for good. Up here, okay or not?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is the way, okay, we can compare both named and anonymous functions. Now we can ask a question. Hey, when you can go with this anonymous function? Can anyone tell me 1 or 2 points? Okay, in this particular, okay, scenario, I have to use like anonymous functions like that. When you can go with the anonymous functions? Come on, one statement.
Multiple times you have to call a function.
Multiple times, if you want to call a function, you can go with the named function, right? One function, if you want to call multiple times, better to go with the named function. Okay, my requirement is like one function is required. Okay, just that is like one time operation only. Okay, then the time you can go with the anonymous functions or not. Yes or no. I need a function. I don't want to give the chance to outside people to call it. If they know the name, then the time they can call it or not. But if I write like this, then the time who can call? Okay, who defined that guy only call it or not? Outside people can call or not call. Say this. This is my function. Okay, immediately called. Who called? Who defined that guy only immediately called or not? Outside people can call or not call? Not able to call. If it is like a named function, if the function name is there, anybody can call it or not? Yes or no? Anyone can call it or not? Agree with me? Okay, one time operation. Okay, if you want to do, okay, I need a function that to one time only. I want to use it out. I don't want to expose that function to outside. I don't want to expose that function to outside people to call it. Okay, this is only for my purpose only. I don't want to give the chance to outside people to invoke that particular function. In that case, you can go with what? The anonymous function or not. Yes or no? Agreed with me? Okay. Okay, then. Now, I'm going to tell some scenarios. Okay, some use cases where exactly anonymous functions are going to use. Okay, we have some methods are there in Python, some predefined methods like map method, like filter method, like reduce method. Okay, so these methods, while calling, we are going to use the anonymous functions. How we are going to use, we'll see. First of all, take some cases. First, I have 5 student mocks. Okay, I have 5 student mocks. How we can represent the 5 student mocks? Can anyone tell me? I want to represent the 5 student mocks. I want to represent 5 students mocks. How we can represent? By using which data type? We can represent 5 student mocks. Tell me.
Dictionary, sir.
Dictionary. Okay. Student name is required. Okay. His mocks. Student name and mocks like that. Key value, key value. Just I need a mocks. Okay. I don't want like their names and everything. Then
I said
can I go with the list? Set no.
list.
Set no. Why? Because set it is not allow the duplicate values, but there is a possibility like 2 students get the same marks or not. Possibility there or not there?
Possibility there.
Okay, set is not allow the duplicate values. Okay, that's the reason. Don't go with that one. Okay, let's go with the list or tuple. Okay, the difference is there. List and tuple. We'll see that one. Okay, so can I write like a marks list? Okay, out of 600, 5 student marks is like 400, 450. Okay, 333, 550. Okay, like this. Okay, these are my 5 student marks. Okay, na? So in general, in our BTech, any one of the subject is like one question get the out of syllabus. Then that what we are going to do in general. Okay, for example, one 5 marks question. Okay, get from out of syllabus. Out of syllabus. Then that what happen in general? They are going to
Yes, sir.
add like bonus marks, right? They are going to add the bonus marks or not. If I add the bonus marks, the first person, his marks like 5 marks question, that is, for example, 405. This guy, 455. This guy, something plus 5. This guy, plus 5. This guy, plus 5 or not? Yes or no? Come on. Okay, here I have some items. I have a list of items. In my list, for each and every element, I want to perform one operation. What is my operation you want me to perform? In the list, how many elements are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In the list, I have 4 elements or 5 elements are there. I want to perform one operation. Which operation you want me to perform? Which operation you want me to perform on my first element? Add 5 marks. Second element, add 5 marks. Third element, add 5 marks. If you want to perform the same operation on each and every element, then you can go with what? Map. So once you perform this operation, and finally it should have to give what? And finally it should have to give what? Come on. Finally it should have to give what? Finally, it should have to
405,
give what?
455.
One more, okay, new mocks list or not. In the new mocks list, my output should be what? 405, 455, like that or not? The new mocks list. Yes or no? Understood or not? So I want to perform the same operation on each and every element. Then you can go with what? Map. So first of all, map there or not there? See this? The map method, it is like what? The map method, it is like what? Come on. The map method, it is like what? Predefined or user defined? Okay. Predefined or user defined? See, map one is not there, but a map is there or not there? This one you defined anywhere? Did you define anywhere? No, right? If you not define, but still you are not get the error, means somebody defined. Who defined? Python people only defined. That means it's like a predefined member or not. Map is like a predefined member or not. Okay, na? Okay, then the map you can call. See, if I call, map is a function. If I call, can anyone read the error message? Can anyone read the error message? Anyone of you?
Must have at least two
Map must
arguments.
have the at least 2 arguments or not. That means it should have to take 2 arguments or not. Yes or no? It should have to take like a 2 arguments or not. Perfect. Okay, which arguments you want me to pass? Okay, just I pass like 10, 20. Will it work or not? Will it work or not? Now by seeing this one, you have to tell me. I passed, okay, he said like 2 arguments. That's the reason I don't know. So 2 arguments, 10, 20, I passed. Then the time it gives me an error. Okay, now what is that error? Integer object is not iterable. That means what? My 10 to 20, you passed. Both are like integers only. So integer object is not iterable, he said. That means not iterable, he said. So he is expecting something not int, which is like iterate. Iterate is nothing but what? Multiple items are there, then only we can iterate or not. Yes or no? How we can, when you can iterate? Only 10 is there, you can iterate, no. 10, 20, 30, 3 values are there. We can iterate it or not. First iteration 10, second iteration 20, third iteration 30, like that or not? Yes, no. Come on. Okay, now integer object is not iterable, he said. But this is also into, this is also into. I don't know which one. So can I change this one to Sachin? Now, if I write like this, okay, it is not gives me any error. At the same time, it is not gives me your expected output also or not. It is not gives me an expected output also or not. Now, if I write like a such in here, it is not gives me an error. But if you write something like this, it gives me an error. Why? Because string, we can iterate it, no problem at all. Now, if I write like this, it is not. So second argument only the problem, first thing. So second argument should be iterable. So tell me, is there any input you have which can iterate? Do you have any input that kind of? Come on, mocks list is there, right? Yes or no? Yes, no. Mocks list is there or not there, which can iterate? Yes or no? Now, if you come here, there is no error, but I didn't get the expected output. Okay, now my expected output is like what? In the first iteration, first value, if I get it, to that particular value, I want to add +5. Second iteration, +5. Third iteration, +5. Like this for every iteration. First one, first value +5. Second one, second value +5. Like that, I want to add +5, +5, +5. Then only I can get the output or not. So that the first one is okay, but the second one, I want to perform some operation or not. Okay, what operation you want me to perform? If you have a value, you have to add +5. So if you want to add or if you want to handle some functionality, how we can handle the functionality? If you want to handle some functionality, how we can handle that functionality? Tell me. If you want to handle some functionality in any programming language, how we can handle the functionality? How we can handle the functionality? Inside the function, right? By writing the functions or not? So that here I need to write a function and you have to get the first value and you have to add a 5 plus first value, you have to get the second value. In the second iteration, you have to add +5. Third iteration, another value +5. Like this, you have to perform some operation or not. So the second change should be what? Not to 10. You have to write some functionality. If you want to write a functionality, one function is required or not. Yes or no? So which function? Anything. Okay. You can use like a lambda function. Okay. Or any other function. What is this lambda function? Okay. The lambda, the parameter. Once you have the parameter, first value +5, like that. Okay. Now you can see this. Same. I didn't get anything. Okay. Now you can do one thing. The conversion you can do like this. If I click on this one, you can get the output or not. But this particular one is our next level discussion. Okay. Is it like only anonymous function? Is it like named function also you can pass? All this stuff we'll see in the next session. Understood or not? You can get the output or not? Yes or no? So our next level discussion is the map method. First parameter I use like a anonymous. I want to use like a named also. Map returns me what? How we can convert that one into list. All this stuff we'll see in the next session. Okay. And one more thing, tomorrow no session, and the day after tomorrow we can continue. Thank you guys. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, sir.